a conversation yesterday. I was just kind of it was churning in my head about different types of like different games and stuff like that. And I thought about this when it comes to PlayStation exclusives, right? It really boils down to the whole game, but there's no character that you can relate to into the later years of PlayStation, like PS4, some of PS3. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no like when you talk about Xbox, you have Master Chief, right?
Mhm.
What about PlayStation? Who's your character? Who would be your character, even if you don't have it? Who would you kind of no before you even answer PlayStation, right? What about
Mhm.
Nintendo? Who's your favorite Nintendo character?
Mario.
Mario. Why?
Well, you said favorite, or when first comes to
First
mind?
comes to mind. First comes to
Oh
mind.
yeah, Mario, Nintendo Mario, because like Mario's like literally the marquee of Nintendo.
But why do you
Period.
like him?
You said why do I like Mario?
Mm-hmm.
Because well, Mario's gameplay has always been very fun, linear, and nostalgic. And at least in Mario games, they have something new to the table as far as like new levels, new challenges, new power-ups, new characters that you can play, new puzzles, 2D and 3D integration, things like that. Mario's a pretty ass game, and they always deliver.
What's going on, Stranded? I really appreciate you dropping by. So, what about PlayStation?
Um,
Hmm.
PlayStation for me, I would have to say between Sly Cooper or Jin Sakai, in my opinion, or even Spider Man.
No, you
Sony
can't count
Spider
him.
Man.
You can't count him. Nah, nah, nah. That's too easy. No, get him out of here. That's not even Sony.
Oh,
Sony. You know what I mean?
okay. Well, let me rephrase. When we say Sony, I immediately think of Sly Cooper first.
Okay. Now let's go to third party. When you think of Square Enix, who do you think about as a character? Your favorite character, if you fuck with them.
Uh, whew. I would say Noctis Lucis Kylo.
I'm not familiar with that. Who is that?
He's the main character of Final Fantasy 15.
Okay. Okay. So why do you like that character? Name one.
Well, well, to be honest with you, I made him in Tekken 7.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So it got to be like
I
a
know,
swag or something from him. You know what I mean?
huh?
It got to be a swag with him or something that you kind of
Yeah,
gravitate to.
absolutely. Yeah, it's about how he fights, his play style. He was a very interesting protagonist in Final Fantasy 15, even though I didn't play it. But I played Tekken 7. He was a guest character, and I know he's from Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy is Square Enix. So I just played him, and he became my main. I like the way he is, his play style, his damage, his attacks, everything is just screams of what I like about a certain character in Tekken.
Got you. Now, going on to YouTube because they people are looking at me on YouTube as well. They're mentioning Link. They like Link for Nintendo. Somebody says Jack and Dexter slash Kratos for PlayStation.
Mm.
Someone says Solid Snake when you mentioned Konami. Another person says Nathan Drake, Cloud, Aya from fucking Final. Excuse me, from Parasite Eve. My point is this, right?
Mm.
One of the problems that I was always thinking, I never really thought of this. PlayStation doesn't really have characters that, except for Kratos, really, that are like they're ageless. You know what I mean? Like they're so based off of like reality, they get older. You know what I mean? Like Aloy would get older. Drake did get old. What's her name? Ellie got older. You know what I mean? And it's like you can't attach yourself to those characters. And then that led me to believe because I thought that was the problem. But it's like Sony's games seem to be like the whole game is great. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look at the game as a whole versus looking at the game like a character that leads it, and then you like everything else about it. You know what I mean? Like for me personally, when I think of Konami, I think about Solid Snake. Then I started thinking about all the characters. For me personally, for
Uh-huh.
PlayStation, my characters, it's not that many. One of them is even nameless, the Wanderer from Shadow of the Colossus, right? The other one
Uh-huh.
is actually Joel Miller. And I started thinking to myself, why do I like these characters? Then I started thinking really hard as to what makes a really good protagonist, right? And I came up with a couple of things, and I want to ask you, what do you think of this, and see if it aligns with things. So I say I'm sorry, a main great. Why did I put it like that? I fucked up on a tweet. Whatever. A great character, main character, has these things. They usually have badass action moments, right?
Uh-huh.
Or you have the ability to make you laugh. They
Uh-huh.
have multiple emotional transitions, expressive body language, or signatures. So when it comes to Solid Snake, he has the expressive body language, and then he has a signature, which is the cigarette, right? And he also has crazy ass badass scenes where he like the George Washington Bridge, where he jumps off of the bridge backwards, shit like that. You know what I mean? And they check all those boxes where you can relate to the main character. And it comes to the Wanderer from Shadow of the Colossus. He doesn't have a badass moment. He's doing badass things, but his is his body language. He always looks like he's struggling. You know what I mean? And he's always like he's trying to overcome these crazy fucking odds. And then when he speaks, he's so determined, and you can see his story arc, right? He's not a one-dimensional character, even though you don't know his name. You see that he gets there, he's determined, then he realizes like shit is about to like something's not right, but I have to see it through because I really want this girl to be alive. And he does it regardless of his consequences. And you see that he starts to mature at that point, and then he's, if you played it, you played it. If you know, you know. So how do you think about that? Do you agree with that sentiment of those bullet points?
Um, I think for me, it's literally based upon, like, I look at it in a different approach. Like, you know, I like, depth, lore, see if, a specific character it has their own ideals or, has a certain story to where it really grabs me. It really piques my interest.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I really look at when it comes to a specific protagonist or a single player game, if you will, that has that element.
Right.
So I begin to look into it if they can grasp me from the beginning or later on through the story, because I mean, there has been a couple of games I played to where it's like I just can't necessarily get with it for real. And then there's
You have any
games to
examples, by the
where I
way?
can be like,
Yep.
I can relate to that. I could be like, okay, yeah, I get this character. So,
You have any examples when you can't get with it? A game in particular that you can remember that's like, I'm not feeling this character really.
okay, so this is going to be an unpopular opinion, so cancel me if you will, but Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm sorry. Cloud is just very dull and boring. Um, don't get me wrong. I do like Cody Christian as an actor and as a voice actor. I've watched plenty of his shows. He was on All American seasons 1 through 5. So, like, if you want me to be all the way honest, I know the voice actor who's playing behind Cloud. Now, him playing as Cloud, on the other hand, is not necessarily exactly like how I envisioned Cody Christian playing as a voice actor. Like, I was, maybe expecting a little bit more, so to speak, but he's just so quiet to me. Like, it's just kind of like the very first level, he was just very nonchalant all throughout infiltrating that, reactor core mission or whatever. It just was like, it's supposed to be, thrill seeking, something exciting, something that, has a little bit more attitude in it. It's just like, I'm just going in here just to attack this reactor core, and I'm about to dip with this group. That's exactly how I feel. That's from my opinion. That's how I look at it. So that's why I can't, really get into Final Fantasy. Oh yeah, so that's just, story lore wise. I'm not even referring to the gameplay. So
Sometimes if the character ain't with it, you can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta have a driving force and a motivation. So do you feel like, do you have to relate to the character, like if they have something in common with you, or do you feel like if you can understand where the character is coming from, which one would you prefer?
I prefer both because that would actually keep me playing the game even more, even longer.